through all of our action, but here we are live. We'll be on YouTube in just a moment. I'm confirming we're on Periscope. We are now on Yahoo, and we are good to go here. So we'll let people join in. I'm joined tonight, and we'll let some crowds come in because they're going to say, who the hell is this guy? And then I'm going to tell you, because it is one Jay Walker, and if you guys were around about 2 years ago, you would have known Jay very well, who has contributed for a bunch of sites here. But I want to thank Jay for stepping in. Fast Eddie Fear is on his vacation in Mexico and could not get the all-inclusive hotel Wi-Fi to support video. So he's going to try to see if he can't get a business office or some other thing for tomorrow's show, but that was on short notice today. He couldn't quite work all of that out. But this is going to be a fun show. We have so much news that we're just going to focus on the different injury situations tonight. 26 teams in action. And we, of course, here are sponsored by FantasyDraft, the home of rake-free daily fantasy sports. If you're not playing over there, if you have not signed up yet, how it works at FantasyDraft is everyone can play $100 every 30 days. If you want to play more than that, which $100 will last a little while, but not for 30 days. If you want to pay more than that, the subscription level I have is $5.99 a month, and I get to play through $1,000. So if I were to play that $1,000 on, which I have to put in my money, but at that amount of play on the other sites, that would be between $120 and $150 in rake. On FantasyDraft, it's just $5.99. So $5.99 feels better. All right. So yes, Santa Claus does have a new gig. And notice that we don't have the name. The Chris Kringle Twitter handle was taken, but I'm joined here by Jay Walker. So let me give a few of the bona fides here from Mr. Jay Walker. Two-time NFL live finalist for DFS, once on FanDuel, once on DraftKings, has written for multiple DFS sites, including FanVice, DFS or DraftKings Playbook, Daily Fantasy Bootcamp. He had his own website back when that was cool. And then prior to that, you'll never guess this, but Jay was actually a beat writer for the Atlanta Hawks, hence the jersey behind him. And he also still does some Atlanta Hawks guest spots on their radio there. So Jay, give the people a little bit of a background here, because they're saying, one, where's Fast Eddie? By the way, yeah. Jay invented with Fast Eddie Daddy Likes, the guessing the percentage. Right. That was a Jay Walker original, guys.
We called it something more along my lines, mainstream and vanilla. I think we called it the ownership game at the time. I think there was some Herb Alpert music playing underneath of it, but yeah, we had a great time. Yeah, I'm definitely no Fast Eddie Fear, nothing like subbing in on a 13-game slate, but definitely not Eddie. But yeah, so right, we had a great time coming up and doing my own thing. Did cover the Hawks for a very long time, and still in touch and doing that kind of thing for them. It's easy to do because the Hawks are Emac. I don't know if you know this, but they haven't been good typically, and nobody cares. So it's easy to slide right in and stay relevant with there. But DFS has been great. Still I play more of an AARP slow pitch softball type approach now. 20 max and low dollar, but still a good time. Did hit fifth in the DK $1 last week. That was fun to sweat something out, and so now just do it for the fun and the thrills.
All right, everybody's saying let's get started. Yes, we're collecting some viewers here. We purposely went early, and now we're going to dive into it. I'm doing a couple loose end things here behind the scenes, so I'm going to hand this over to Jay. One of the biggest news that we had was last night was Trae Young going out for the Atlanta Hawks. That kind of set everything on its side, sort of ruined a second slate in a row. We had that similar thing happen with De'Aaron Fox the night before. Tonight, value abounds. This afternoon, after Adam and I finished our game by game show, we had some absolutely crazy news that has just popped up. Kevin Love's out, Giannis is out, etc., etc. But let's start off with the Hawks there, since you do know them near and dear to your heart. How does this impact things? One, two, I'm worried about Collins just a little bit, because we've seen the entire Atlanta offense just sort of crumble without Trae Young multiple times. But that was 25 games without Collins in there. Is he going to be able to support his price point? What are you seeing here from the Hawks tonight?
Well, no, with Trey, because of the playmaking and because he does draw a lot of defense, he opens up the floor. It does depress the overall ceiling on guys like Collins and some of the, I guess he's really the only higher price guy, but Herter, even 5,400 on DK. I think that, it depresses ceiling a little bit there. I mean, they obviously like to play fast. But what it does do is bring in some of the, enhances some of the other playmaking ability. And obviously DeAndre Bembry is the guy that seems to benefit the most. Evan Turner is healthy and will definitely get some minutes, but we'll see Bembry on the floor and he'll distribute a little bit more. His fantasy points per minute isn't great typically, but that's because Trey does a lot of what he likes to do, which is facilitate and move the ball. So I think that, overall it lowers the ceiling on a lot of them. I think in this game overall, it's a good strategy if you're going to pick players to pick the lower priced ones and not hope that the game stays relevant or fast paced or efficient enough to pay up near the top in the game.
All right. Moving to the other side, Giannis out. We of course have Eric Bledsoe out. We've got no spring chicken here with Ersan Ilyasova, but he is going to be back. I haven't seen if we got a starting lineup yet. He's going to be back in the mix once again tonight. Chris Middleton's price ticking up, but he should have a role, be it from defensive stopper to a secondary facilitator to primary scorer. Now all of a sudden that price tag doesn't look so bad. It's not a gimme per se. And by the way, Adam last night played 100% of Chris Middleton across the 3 sites he was playing on. So I don't think we're quite in that spot tonight. The matchup's entirely different here for this one, but let's talk a little bit about Giannis being out for a second time and the trickle down there going against the Orlando Magic, another team. You're down in the Orlando area, so another team that you are familiar with as well, having followed them throughout the years. This is one of their better teams. They've always had decent team defense, but now they have real coaching here. It's not necessarily a gimme spot for the Bucks, but it does feel like a good one for Middleton. Can we include Ersan Ilyasova in that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, still a fairly inexpensive price there, and does obviously produce quite a bit for him, even if he's scoring, 25 to 30 in there. That's pretty solid floor there to be able to base it on. But I think overall, like you're right, against Orlando, against a team that plays a lot of defense, slows the pace down, lowers the total, it's hard to get really excited about Chris Middleton at his price. For sure. But I mean, I think your mid-range guys are a little better. That was what was so heartbreaking last night about losing that you lost a lot of the value that Ilyasova was providing. If you played George Hill, if you listened to EMAC, he told you that he wasn't going to get the blowout run yesterday, and he's not really in a great spot today. But you've got guys like Ilyasova and DiVincenzo, 55, not great. Brook Lopez, 6, not great. I don't know. It's not a great spot overall, I think, in Milwaukee, but I still like Ilyasova at his price tag as long as he's starting.
All right. You mentioned DiVincenzo a little bit. Is he a secondary option we can consider here? How do you feel about and then turning it the other way, Nikolai Vucevic having a reasonable price tag literally across the industry, just a tick above being mid-tier, but nowhere near being a top shelf option. He's someone, though it is a back-to-back, has been very good since returning from his injury. And over his last season and a half, 2 seasons, he has really kind of reinvented how he plays and really embraced three-point shooting even more than he already did. He's got that nice combination of also being able to get a lot of rebounds, etc. What do you think here with DiVincenzo? Any other trickle down with the Bucks, and then let's move over to Orlando.
Yeah, I think the usage on DiVincenzo, looks good, and I think that's why his price tag, he's pretty priced appropriate right now, though. So I don't know that on a 13 game slate that if you're in doubt, I think you can lean on some of the better, more higher upside plays. Same with Brook Lopez at 6K on DK. I think that you've got you've got other options around there. I love Vooch. But I do, when I did my first one, he didn't make any of my 30%ers on there. And just it's pointing out that he would be a great tournament option because there seems to be a lot of good, centers, priced in the mid-range So I think at 7,800, if you're playing on DK, that you might be able to sneak him in there because he's not really projected too far below those guys. But if you're crunching and if you're only playing in 20 maxes or something like that, I think you're going to maybe not have Vucevic in your pool. And if you're playing in broader, if you tick up a little higher on Vooch, you might get an edge on some of the other guys in a fine spot, just in a kind of an odd price range. And it would be easier to get into some of the other players that are center ready on the slate already. So maybe kind of a sneakier play on there overall.
All right, we'll kind of walk through some of the earlier games. We're going to hit some of the other injury news here to enable us to go through. Hey, look, we've already covered 3 of the very important spots tonight, and that only took us 7 minutes. So, guys, we're going to get through this. We're going to hit all the highlights. You've already got, you had plenty of the game-by-game breakdown and nuances from Adam and myself this morning. And then, of course, we've got the deep dive behind the paywall. You've got Alex's grades, player grades. We've got ownership projections. We've got player projections. We've got all sorts of good stuff, both in front of and behind the paywall here. If you have not yet signed up and you want to get 50% off your first week of Awesemo premium content, any 1-week package, use the promo code LiveBeforeLock, all one word, and you get a 50% discount. If you're not dipping your toe in the pool right now, what are you doing? And no, Jay Walker is not actually my brother. We could be, but we've said he's Santa Claus. Though I had a lot of people, they like to call my goatee gradient because it's the mustache still a little darker, but more and more of it's turning white. But yeah, Jay gets the good Santa Claus. He's kicking it in South Beach after his busiest time of the year.
That's true. It does bleach a little bit more brown when I'm on the beaches, but it's good. It's nice. Brings it in real well. Appreciate all the respect in the premium chat. My boys, Unk and Maharishi, giving it up. Appreciate that. We're gonna have some fun here. We did get a Toronto lineup out there. EMAC.
All right, let's move over to Toronto. We're of course without Pascal Siakam, Norman Powell, and who am I missing here? Marc Gasol. But we still have Fred Van Elite, as some people like to call him. The Fred Van Elite tournament, I think, filled. But if you guys want to check out my pinned tweet, you can get over there. And if you win that with a contest, we run it every time that Fred VanVleet is playing. If you win that contest with an Awesemo avatar, you get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. I'll also drop the link on where you can get the avatar, because you can also win premium content access if you win other tournaments as well. But I will drop that in there. What do we got here for the starting lineup, Jay? Anything unexpected?
I don't think so. I mean, we saw McCaw playing already in the starting lineup. Lowry, VanVleet, McCaw, Scooby-Dooby, Anubi, and Ibaka going out there. So I don't think that's going to surprise anybody as far as the starting lineup goes. I don't like playing Anubi. I always seem to get him though. And I tell you, that's the dangerous thing about doing kind of what I'm doing now in the slow pitch, 20 max, do your lineups, is that I tend to X out guys and then they explode, or Rudy Gay style from the other night, where I just can't play those guys and you click them. But the OG is 4,900 over there going against the C's, who have a lot of long players. I think, OG Scooby-Dooby Anubi could put up some numbers tonight over there. I'm getting them out of the projections and into the cruncher. Looks like I'm getting my fair share of the OG.
All right, I had a fair amount on Christmas there. I was playing 20 in the special Yahoo tournament with the $50,000 in prize pool added, and he was on, I think, 40% of my teams. I put in 20 there and was hand building them, and boy, that foul trouble didn't help us out. He does do a good job with blocks and steals on sites like that, where you get those defensive stats such as FanDuel and Yahoo, where it's 3 points per block and steal. He does get a nice upside there. That's how he can achieve it. I need an impartial look. Would you offer up Fred VanVleet? I think he's adequate at 7,500 on DK. He's very favorable on FantasyDraft. I think we got to put the brakes on the other sides, though.
Yeah. I think that much like Vucevic, I think this is a great thing about having a big slate like this. If you're seeing that a guy is drawing some attention, maybe overly so, you can go a different way. But guys like VanVleet, guys who are a high price, maybe appropriately priced, but you think are in a good spot. I think that they're great to plug in there. If they're, Vanvleet's probably projecting between 38 and 40 DK points tonight. I think you can, if you feel like there's upside there, and certainly can be against the Celtics, he's fun to sneak into those tournaments. If you're playing 150, you're gonna get some of them in your crunch. But if you're playing smaller, maybe that's somebody that you make sure you have a lineup or two in. That's my impartial look at it there. I love the way that he's been producing, and the way that Lowry's kind of let him go with that. You know what I mean? That it's been good for them to do so. So good stuff from VanVleet.
All right, I'm getting a bunch of people are asking, is Beal in or out? As far as I know, he is in. Let's look. I don't know if these are some of the people that were having fun with me on Twitter. Adam and I came down on opposite sides of Bradley Beal. I was just saying I think it's a little tricky for him to reach 60 fantasy points of upside. I don't think it's impossible here. It looks like we're still getting just updates, nothing important here, but kind of talking about that. Let's hop over to that game for just a moment here. So he's still coming in questionable. He is literally doing everything for the Wizards. The Wizards are in a spot now where they do have, I don't know that NBA ready players is the right term, but they have a lot of bodies now. So even though they're decimated with injuries, that's more from a talent standpoint, but they've got Jordan McRae back, and he's a serviceable guard. Isaiah Thomas back after his 2-game suspension. They picked up John Williams, who had some garbage time moments with the Lakers down the stretch in one of their tanking seasons, etc. They've got Gary Payton the second here as well. So it's not the bare cupboard that it was. Yes, they're still missing some shooters. Right. Yes, they're still missing some talented guys, but it's not the just pick a wizard and plug them in. Also, a lot of them have seen their price kind of increase. So if we're looking at the Wizards here, I'm just not a fan of the current price point for Bradley Beal, and him getting 60 fantasy points I think is a tough ask. I think 50 is very, very reasonable, and if you want to put him in your core cash game or your main lineup, that's totally fine. I'm just not seeing the upside. We've had a tremendous number of players open up throughout the day here that in that Rashawn Holmes vein, etc., that are in that mid tier of pricing that I think from a point per dollar can get to that 1.5, 1.6 fantasy points per minute in their particular situation tonight, where they're going to be a better value there than Bradley Beal. I'm okay with Isaiah Thomas. On the other side of the game, Jay, here before I turn this back over to you, I really like Elfrid Payton. He's carved out a nice little role here. We're 11 games in without Coach David Fizdale. Rotations are stabilizing a little bit, and there's no Dennis Smith Jr. Even with Elfrid's price ticking up just a little bit, this is an excellent matchup for him, and he's no stranger to playing the Wizards, having been with Orlando for a long time. The other guy I like is Julius Randle. He's also seen his price ticked up. He's coming off back-to-back 50 fantasy point games. We could see that one coming. We talked about that one, actually both of their last two. Now 50 is, we kind of need him to get to 50 to make us really happy tonight, but the 4 to 40 fantasy points should be there. In the games prior to his last 2 good ones, he had 3 games where he was involved in blowouts. 2 of them, he did not see the court in the fourth quarter. So you could go look at that and say, you know what? He's missing between 7 and 9 minutes off of what should have been his normal run. This is going to be a close game regardless of who's out there, is my guess, because these are relatively evenly matched and disappointing teams, but they all have capable players. So I'm really kind of narrowing this down to like 4 guys that I'm interested in him. It's not really I like Isaiah, I like Gary Payton Jr. or Gary Payton II, and then the 2 New York guys. What are you seeing here? Start off with Beal and the Wizards, and how do you feel about the questionable tag? If we're not, we'll get news because it's a 7 o'clock lock, but calf injuries are not exactly fun, and he's had a long history of lower leg issues. Right. He's been an Iron Man the last few seasons and among the league leaders in minutes, but 3 seasons ago and 4 seasons ago, he was missing constant time because of shin splints and other soft tissue injuries in his lower legs.
Yeah, this is the key, man. Especially if you're playing shorter, if you're playing, 3 max entries, 20 max entries. Don't even on a 13-game slate. It's like weather and baseball. Don't even bother with Brad Beal tonight. You don't need it. He's not ridiculously underpriced. He's a dart throw high end guy. If you're playing a ton of lineups and you don't mind eating a few, by having him in there, but don't mess around with that. And if he's in it, like you were talking about, big difference between having only 8 or 9 guys available or 8 or 9 guys that are decent, that are okay, but you have a bench full to go to where coaches can just kind of mix out who's got the hot hand. So, for far as I'm concerned, it makes Washington, if Beal sits, makes it a little more interesting for the reason you're talking about. Isaiah Thomas at 5,200 on DK. That's, we know he's good, loves to use possessions. And even if he's not super efficient with them, that's what you're looking for. So I think if Beal is in, I'm almost disinterested in Washington, generally speaking. If Beal's out, then, obviously Thomas and all of that usage has to get spread across some of that and brings some more of that value into play.
And there certainly is a lot of it. I mean, he had 34 shots in the last game. He's regularly been getting 24. That's a fair handful to distribute amongst even 4 other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to go to, and then suddenly that'll open up some more value. Beal's, been a workhorse. I'd be surprised if he's out just because of what he is. But then again, why does Washington need to grind him into jelly with everybody else out? So I think that'll be very interesting. But Thomas would be the guy I'm most interested in because of just his ridiculous selfish usage at times, which I'm all for. I don't want that to sound like judgment. I'm definitely down for that if he's in.
All right. On the other side here, New York, I guess I could probably extend to RJ Barrett as well. Just looking at his price on a couple of the sites, FanDuel and DraftKings, he's adequate. He'll be in the starting lineup. But for the Knicks, it's those guys. We got a couple questions coming in about Marcus Morris. He's been dealing with the sore Achilles, but had a nice game out there. It was Markieff, not Marcus, that played for the Wizards. So there is no revenge here, unless you're like me and subscribe to the fact that the brothers change uniforms quite regularly. Depending on how they're feeling. But in any event, what do you like from the Knickerbockers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually a sucker for Mitchell Robinson, and guys, I'm a shot blocker enthusiast, so I definitely love that. But I think the only guy that I've been getting on the Knicks is Julius Randle, and not a surprise. Definitely the biggest workhorse there. Washington, little weaker in the front court. Well priced. I know you like the elf on the shelf for yourself, but just not getting him popping for tonight. It looks like it's just Randall for the Knicks tonight for me.
All right. I see we're getting a nice question in here. Let me scroll back up and see if I can catch it. Would Gary Payton or Garrett Temple? We haven't talked about Brooklyn yet, so we're working on bouncing around here just a little bit. With regards to Brooklyn, they have been playing at a little bit faster pace, but they've been playing better defense. Adam pointed that out nicely in the deep dive as well as on the Early Bird podcast. They get a nice matchup tonight against Houston. Let's kind of shift our focus over to use that as our transition. Peyton versus Temple, and then how do you feel about Jarrett Allen, perhaps Spencer Dinwiddie, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Beal is in, then I'm very much less interested in Peyton and Thomas in also. So that would push Garrett Temple. Who I'm not excited about Garrett Temple. Certainly not, generally speaking, and not great at 5,200 on DK on a 13-game slate. But he is. The projections are popping in pretty good for him. I'm getting about 3 lineups out of 20. For him. So, obviously there's some value there to go on. I would go Temple over Peyton if Beal's in. If Beal's out, I think I'd be more interested in Peyton's upside in there, especially for tournaments. Cash, you can still get away with Garrett Temple there. He's going to play between 30 and 40 minutes out in Brooklyn. They need him to play that good defense, EMAC, out there that Brooklyn's playing. So I think that, that's where I would kind of come down for that. Otherwise, Brooklyn's got a ton of guys that I don't like for generally speaking, like Joe Harris. It's another guy, but these guys do play well in DFS and do a solid job. I always like Jarrett Allen and certainly like his upside. I always like it when guys like him and the price starts coming down, and it's gone down to 6,100 on DK. Certainly appreciate it. Make sure you set your groups to have Allen and Jordan separated from each other. You don't want both those guys in there, but both of them can project pretty well. And if you're going with a spread amount of lineups, it makes sense to have exposure maybe to either one of those guys tonight.
All right, here. We don't have, obviously, no Clint Capella. That's going to put PJ Tucker in the mix, getting some minutes there at the 5. It is a back-to-back. We already know that Russell Westbrook is not playing tomorrow, so he should have unlimited minutes tonight. Harden and company did drop that Christmas game to the Warriors. A little bit of a surprise there. How are you feeling about any of our luminaries here from the Rockets?
Yeah, I mean, God, every time you go through this, it's always like PJ Tucker and that. I definitely saw Harden and Westbrook being included in the pool there. I'm not a big fan. Look, I don't want low points per minute guys on big slates like this. So whether might be my own downfall, even though PJ Tucker shows up as a great value tonight. I X'd him out tonight, EMAC. I want more upside.
Okay.
On a 13 game slate, man, to win one of those things, it really deflates. It really lowers the ceiling by including guys like that. So McLemore, even though he's 3,700, PJ Tucker 4,500, those are great values. If you want to play him, I would totally understand it. It could open up maybe some higher end. I just feel like there's Daniel House, another one that's in there as well. Just not guys that I'm excited about rostering on a bigger slate like this. Feel like there's more higher upside value in that price range that could get you where you need to go. So that's why I took them off the list. I'll probably regret it, EMAC, end of the night. Probably see PJ Tucker putting it in my face, putting a point per minute up in there. But I feel like going with the better suspects there in Houston with with Harden, Westbrook out there would be good.
All right, let's see here. That kind of hopped us to that game. Let's.
Oh yeah, with Capella out, I'm just why is it? But Tucker being more included, getting closer to the basket, I would understand a little more. May realize some of that potential. Might have to revisit that on there, but that's some of these old scars are long lasting, Mac. That's the best thing about DFS. If you have a cornerback's memory in DFS, you are in great shape because you won't have any of these biases against guys that have put 8.5 points in a full game for you on the board. So, kudos to you. I definitely could see it with Capella out. I can see PJ a little bit more there.
All right, we've got the next game that we're going to talk about with some injury news. We're still waiting on Karl Anthony Towns news. I'm assuming he's out. Did we have any in-game updates today? Go look up, see what our friends.
Slander and Slack. I should never do that on air. But I'm laughing. I love the subscribers here. What was the question?
I am working on Karl Anthony Towns knee questionable. Let's see. We don't have any new updates from today.
I like Adam's take yesterday on this. Is that Towns was never hurt, and now he is.
Yeah.
So you have to feel like he's got to be 100% before he steps back on there, and if it's been serious enough to keep him out this much time, I think it's more questionable than probable at that point. I love that take from Adam yesterday on it, and I think that I think it's for me it's safer to bet on that rather than to try to bet that he's in again, especially on a big slate like this with a lot of center options out there tonight.
All right, let's see. Good question here. We'll get to. Let's focus for a second. Let me write down this question because it was actually a good one. So looking at Gorgie Dang, his price is coming up. We have one of the best value plays on the other side. We've got who Adam absolutely loves and says is his cash game lock. I'm going to throw that little nugget out there to you guys. This would be Larry Nance Jr. On the Cleveland side without Kevin Love. Remember, no more Jordan Clarkson, so there's additional minutes, less moving parts for the coaches to play with. How do you feel about Nance? Do you think anything extends down to, say, Good God, how many kids of former NBA players? Winston Garland's kid
Right.
is in this one.
These, if you remember Winston Garland's dad, then you definitely have white hair in your beard. But that's
he was on my very first NBA fantasy team, Winston Garland.
Oh man,
there you go.
Absolutely, Kevin Porter, obviously in the mix there as well. Yeah, I love Larry Nance. To me, is probably the biggest value on the slate. I mean, we've seen him put up. He's got massive upside. This is what I'm talking about. Why am I not excited about playing a lower upside guy at 43 or 4,500? Because you've got Larry Nance at 3,800 on DK to blow it out. I usually set my exposures lower just to get a broader range on Fantasy Cruncher. If you've got FC through FanVice or through Osimo, old habits die hard, man. Even after a couple of years on there, definitely should check that out. Makes it really easy, especially if you're on the go like I am, to get lineups. Nance, I extended to my max. I can see if you wanted to put 100% in there, but I put 80% on Larry Nance tonight. I rarely do that unless I really believe in the value. And this is a great spot for him on here. And you got to like, even Colin Sexton's price has gone up a little bit. His usage has been pretty profound lately. You have to, I think that's where some of the better value lies here. But definitely love Nance in there. Tristan Thompson also in the mix as well there.
All right. So let's finish out the Minnesota side here. So I'm looking at some other guys. So we've got Shabazz Napier has moved into the starting lineup. He has hardly played alongside Jeff Teague at all. It's been Jeff Teague that's coming off the bench, but closing here. Right. It's kind of an interesting mix. And then you've got Koji and Culver, and those guys are just kind of a whole lot of yeah. I'm very fond of Andrew Wiggins in this particular situation. We've seen all of a sudden the assists have become a part of his game. He used to be, speaking of assists, good God, Hassan Whiteside is getting assists now. You used to be able to say, you know what, I think Hassan and Andrew Wiggins are going to combine for 7 assists this week, and that would maybe be a good over-under for them combined. Yet here we are seeing them. Now it's not off the charts. On the season, Wiggins has about 4.5 assists per game, but it's now in the realm of possibilities, etc. So as you're looking at the rest of the Timberwolves here in a very good matchup, Oh, was that a news, or are you just excited for the T-Wolves here?
That's it. Yeah. Lauri Markkanen in, and it looks like Towns is going to be in as well.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Towns going to be out. What am I doing? Yeah, Towns out. Sorry.
Well, that would have been you've got it. So think of it this way. When Towns is back, feels like for those of you willing to take on some risk, they're not going to put him back with what I would think would be many limitations. Just because they're going to keep him out until he's healthy. There's no reason not to. His Iron Man streak is a thing of the past now.
Beal out.
Beal is out.
Beal out. Okay. Yep.
All
Fred
right.
Cat has that on the webs out there, Markkanen in. That hurts some of that front court value in Chicago. It's going to spread it around a little bit more.
Let's move over there and talk a little bit about Chicago here with this one. So you've got you've got Wendell Carter Jr., similar initials, but not the same. Wendell Carter Jr. in the mix there. We've seen, I actually think this helps Tomas Satoransky from we need you to take shots now, Tomas. We need you to take. He's a decent shooter and he has a great field goal percentage because he doesn't ever take bad shots. But that part of that problem is he doesn't take bad shots, so the volume's not there either. So ideally, he gets a little love here. What are you seeing from the Bulls?
I mean, obviously, Markkanen, is a solid play in there. But what I really believe is that it does thin things out there in the front court. Where you might have had some Thad Young in there before, and obviously more Wendell Carter. I think it kind of makes it a bit of a stale. Zach LaVine is a certified Hawks hater. He will. He does tend to go a little crazy in situations like this against Atlanta. He's got the high usage. I just don't know if there's a lot there. I always like Satoransky when his price was closer to 5K on DK or 52. I'm not as gung-ho about him when he's at 6K because of just what you said, Emac. He doesn't really look to take a ton of shots, which is what you would need to really beat a GPP at that price. So to me right now, I think, for Chicago, I would be around. I'd be okay with Zach LaVine even at his higher price tag, but maybe some Laurie at that point there, and some Wendell Carter, but not as excited as I was before Markkanen was announced in.
All right, that's it's okay. It's big slate. So we'll get back here to Washington in just a minute. I think we have a starting lineup there. We had some questions here, and I think these are two good ones. So the first one is, we're asking, hey, what do we see from the trickle down effect on the Hornets, the Houston Rockets, with the front court out? Do we look to Hartenstein? Do we look to Clark? My answer is, I think that's getting a little bit cute. There is a heavy big 8 o'clock slate here, so but there are 5 games on it. I don't even think I'd look to those players on the 8 o'clock slate. I'd be willing to go elsewhere where we're not guessing and we have some more secure minutes. If that was a 2-game slate, absolutely. That's when we start saying, okay, where can I think I'll get 11 fantasy points from the minimum, but it's going to help me get all these other players. That's where you start making those types of decisions. I don't think it's worth going there tonight with 26 teams in action and more opportunity now that we can shake a stick at. I'm going to go confirm this Washington lineup, but they were asking if you were going to make any groups with the cheap Atlanta Hawks. Do you have any advice for that?
It's tougher when Trey's out because he drives a lot of those roles in there. So if you're looking to kind of look at correlations and set groups on there, it would be more difficult. Plus, we need to know if Jabari Parker, I don't think we have news on some of the front court in Atlanta. That's going to do a lot also. If Parker and Len are still questionable out there, which will drive a lot of the front court discussion there. I mean, obviously, if Parker is out, they're going to have to lean on Collins as long as this game stays competitive even longer, because there's just no scoring in that front court without him. Len is going to share with Bruno Fernando out there, so I think you can pair Bembry with Collins out there, or Herter and Collins for that, because there's not going to be the crossover on rebounding. There's not going to be any, when you set in groups, that's what you're looking for. You want to make sure that you're getting the correlations correct on there. But I think Bembry takes on more of a guard role here. That takes the Trae Young playmaking without the shooting, clearly. But then we're going to have to wait and see what Parker and Len for what you're setting up there. But right now, John Collins, if those two guys are out, Collins is going to be a key player in the front court with Bembry and Herter, and Collins and Hunter will play a little bit more closer to the basket as they play Collins at the 5 there. So I think we just have to wait and see on some of that in terms of how to group them. But I think right now, if Parker and Len are out, then Collins and Hunter definitely pick up more rebounding, more scoring, while Herter and Bembry take some of that backcourt stuff.
All right, so we have even more news. Now, whoever said we should have started earlier, we would have had to redo all of this anyway. So,
that's right.
So we don't have an official starting lineup other than Peyton is going to be starting for Beal, so I would assume that they'll just keep the rest of that the same. Got a question asking, are we okay with Beal and Isaiah Thomas on the same line? Or pardon me, Peyton and Isaiah Thomas on the same lineup? Yes, I am okay. I wouldn't want more than 3 of the Wizards on the lineup just because, good God, who is their best offensive player at this point? It's still a nice matchup. They don't have rock bottom prices, but I wouldn't hate 2 of them.
Right.
And again, they have more competent bodies here, so they'll be okay, and especially in this matchup. But when we saw them, when they were missing everybody that first game, Isaiah Thomas was out. They didn't have actual bodies when Bertans went out and Moritz Wagner went out, et cetera, and they still didn't have the greatest of games. So now they're missing their anchor point and their focal point of the offense. So I think that's right. So,
and again, with so many players to choose from, it's not a 5-game slate, it's not even a 6er. So, to lock yourself into 3 Wizards, do you really want that kind of pain in your life to have 3. But I mean, if you were throwing Jordan McRae in there and you thought he was going to get 26 minutes and have high usage off the bench, you could creep him in, I would say, as a third there, Emac. But I think you're right. I think having Peyton, Brown, and Thomas in the same one wouldn't be wise.
Right. Andrew Wiggins, unlikely to play, illness. So what we just said about the Wizards almost applies to the Timberwolves now, with who is viable options, legitimate NBA players. I'm okay with Gorgie Dang still because of the matchup. I'm okay with Jeff Teague. Now a lot of things are going to fall on his shoulders. I'm okay with Shabazz Napier, but I'm not immediately pushing all my chips in on these guys because we have so many other options here. So this would be more of a spot where I would be maybe thinking of larger pools of not just, you were saying, all right, well, which Hawks would I be willing to play? Perhaps you look at it something like this, and if I wasn't on air, I would have more time to set this up. But this is where I start looking at saying, okay, we've got a ton of value. I don't want more than X of these guys. That is where you set a group and you say, here are these 9 players, give me 2 or 3 of them. Now, then you can have other rules saying, I don't want more than this many from this team or this many from that team, etc. Or tonight, it's probably almost 12 players. But what that does is it artificially gives you more funds to spend on the higher guys, and then you let the optimizer do the work of choosing which combination works thereof. And this is something, it's reverse logic that a lot of people don't apply to this, but because we have so many discounted options right now, that would be one way of going where you're not going to over expose yourself to too many of them, because you would still have the same individual player caps and then your other team rules around them, but you would ensure that you're getting 3 of these guys per lineup, which is the reverse way of building a stars and scrubs lineup.
Yeah, and a good way to do it on a night like tonight for sure. Man, just
what's going to happen next? Right. I don't know. So I would figure that you
got your Wizards lineup now.
Oh, do we? Is it what you were expecting? Or what?
Thomas, Peyton, Brown, John Williams, and Jan Mahimi.
John Williams, hi. How's it going, friend? I like your work as a composer. You're one hell of a running back. There's a lot of Jonathan Williams.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. You're taking the Admiral Schofield memorial. Fill the minute, please, for the Wizards role there.
It was real. It was real, but we need someone that can actually score and is actually taller than the opposing center. I don't have anything really to add to this mishmash.
No, I mean, it's exactly what we talked about with the Wizards. Nothing really changes there. I think the important thing is that if you were interested, if you still believe that Jordan McRae was going to get some minutes coming off the bench, this is good news for you, because now you can put him as coming off the second team, and he's not fighting with Isaiah Thomas and Troy Brown and Gary Payton for shots and possessions. So I think it's interesting. But if you believe that Thomas, Payton, and Brown are going to lock in high 30s minutes, then that could be troublesome. But they haven't been playing Thomas that kind of workload. So I think that there's definitely opportunity for McRae off the bench at 3,800 on DK to make a mark. And again, the upside is just not terribly great there. But if you were looking at it, that's the only thing this news brings you, is that you could sneak him in a 150 max type tournament.
All right, let's hit refresh here and see what other news we're going to have. So Aaron Holiday is starting. Know that. Troy Brown is starting. We know that. Thomas, we just mentioned that. Darius Garland, questionable with the ankle still. Justice Winslow is officially out yet again for Miami. That's no surprise. Tyson Chandler is going to get the ceremonial 7 minutes in his he's starting tonight.
Right. Right.
Let's see. Capella officially out. Young officially out. I'm just seeing what other news we haven't got. Drummond is playing.
Yeah, I think we've got what we're waiting on. Tobias. Did you say that?
No, Tobias questionable. So
Tobias,
to see what happens there. It's back-to-back for Embiid. Let's go to LeBron. We haven't had that hammer drop yet. LeBron dealing with the sore groin.
Yep.
4-game losing streak here for the Lakers.
Yeah.
It was a groin injury on Christmas Eve last year that basically knocked him out. It feels a little bit like deja vu. This was more of a tweak than a strain. Does he get the night off? If you're reading the tea leaves for that one, how are you feeling with confidence that LeBron's going to play? Because if he's out, Anthony Davis becomes a monster option.
Yeah, I feel like both these guys are going to play. And you remember last year, it was after Christmas that the Lakers really started to tank. And, now they're in a bit of a losing streak, kind of begged up. But I think that these guys play. It's a, higher profile game against Portland in here. I can see James and Davis play. I'm approaching it that way, that James and Davis are going to play. And really having most people back. You got Rondo and Kuzma, and all those other guys. So I'm only interested in the big two there, LeBron and Davis. And I think they'll need to play, really, really good to win that game there. And I think they need to. So I think that being a late night hammer, it's not bad. I always sweat it a little bit when I see that a lot of people have these guys, but they've been really low owned most of the season in big slates. So it's a good opportunity here as well, especially since they were, they had the questionable, or you weren't sure if they're going to play for a good percentage of the day.
All right, let's see. We've got the guy I really, really, really like from this game, Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Super cheap. I want to say $3,900 on DK if memory serves. I believe he is $10 minimum on Yahoo. I always say all $10 players are not created equal on Yahoo. He is one of the ones that you want to look at, though. He is in there along now with the guys from the Cavs. So those would be the ones I would.
600 on DK.
Pardon? How much?
46.
Oh, 46. Okay. I was tentatively guessing there.
You need him to really be. Obviously he's coming off the bench and showing little conscience. We saw the game against the Clippers where he was just making everything. You really need him to make everything at that price with 24 minutes or so to really make it stick. So maybe at 46, not as stellar a play as he was when he was in the threes there coming off that.
How about a way of looking at it is if you're looking at a LeBron, you can set it up for a 2v2 knowing that you can get to Kuzma as long as you don't use LeBron as your point guard, where you get him at the small forward or the forward spot. You could facilitate a 2v2 with Kuzma. Usage would increase for him. We still think he's going to be on that similar 24 to 26 minute range. That's really not going to change. But I need to let my dog out of my room. There we go. My wife just got home. That was good. Otherwise, she'd be going nuts in the office and trying to throw herself at the door. 15 pounds of fury, as I like to say it. So she can go chase her down there. But that might be a better way of looking at some of the outs that we have later tonight as news continues to go on. Because we have a healthy set of games. I mean, we have 5 at 8. We have 1 at 8:30. We've got, I think, 2 or 3 at 10 o'clock or later. So we have all sorts of games here. This is just where you might want to start thinking ahead because, gosh, we still have – feels like we've been on air all afternoon, Jay. We've got 26 more minutes until lock.
Oh, man. Yeah, I know. And there's still plenty of news out there that can be uncovered. Really want to know what's going on with the Hawks front court. And obviously – now you're sorting through all the Minnesota options. If you're running your crunches, you're probably seeing a ton of Minnesota value pop in there. So just be aware of some of the lower ceiling value that's in there. That even though they're a good value, if you're looking at a guy like Josh Okogie, then that this may be a good night, even though he's cheap. That there's going to be value like Larry Nance that have significantly more upside in play there. So just be careful.
So it is the that time of year, Jay, where you get together with family and friends. Some would call it the holidays. Oh, look, the Holiday Brothers are all together tonight. We've got 2 for the Pacers and 1 from New Orleans. I'm seeing in chat. Do we have a holiday? Well, let's not say narrative, but come on. You always want to do well against your brother and their name for this time of year.
Yeah.
Feels like the stars, if you will, are aligning. What do you think here? I truly think without Brogdon, etc., that you've got a decent chance here with Aaron Holiday, but he's part of the many options that we have. Drew Holiday is someone I like, along with Brandon Ingram and Derek Favors on the other side. But if we start looking at upside and point per dollar, etc., they're kind of coming into the I don't really want to be more than the field. I don't want to be without guys like that. But this feels like one of those. I believe Dean Shavelson, Dean 78904, if you want to get all technical, says it best with, I might just have 10% of that guy. Good God, this is starting to feel like that kind of night.
I know, and that's why I say I like to keep my exposures spread out pretty good on that, because there's just so many places that can hit tonight. And I personally I think I like Aaron Holiday value-wise the best of the holidays. You're going on Lindsey Buckingham on me, talking about a Holiday road in this one. Heyo.
You got that gets you to vacation, which gets you to Christmas vacation, which is Apex Chevy Chase.
That's right. That's true. Big fastball, Chevy Chase on that one. Then I like Drew, and then obviously Justin Holiday. It was a nice game. I think what's been interesting about Brogdon being out is we have seen Holiday kind of step in where we might have thought that Jeremy Lamb was going to assume more, more usage or anything. It hasn't happened. So Holiday's definitely, passed him for that. And at his price, still under 6K, he's going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit. I do like Aaron Holiday, probably the best there, value wise. Although Lamb is he's 4,900. It's hard to pass up. Definitely want them on separate tracks. Because if Lamb is going off, that means Holiday's probably not getting, what he needs scoring wise. So I like both those gents tonight with the Pacers.
Let's see here. Derek Favors, an interesting one here. He's well, I don't know that a favorite is the right word, but Josh Engelmann tends to find him on his lineups quite a bit here. We're seeing the price ticking up here, which I think is absolutely fine. He seems to be more healthy. We know he's not going to play more than 30 minutes, but he doesn't have a minutes cap per se on him anymore. That was kind of in that 24 to 26 range. Feels like 26 to 28 is a reasonable facsimile of what he should be getting on a normal game front. Do you like him? Do you like Ingram? Anybody on the other side of this game? At this point, we're just kind of looking for differentiation or hidden gems.
Yeah, I mean, I like Bi just starting to come into his own, and the plays a ton of minutes with high usage. Anytime you can get 36 to 38 minutes with closer to 30% usage, and he's still just 8K, I think there's a good bit to like about that from a top end perspective. I too have had Favors, obviously running through the Awesemo system. You haven't seen a lot of Derek Favors when he was cheaper, but with kind of a not a hard cap at 30 minutes, but a soft cap, and other folks healthy and pitching in. Not as big on Favors, but he's obviously a good player in the league. If he comes up, he's not an X out type factor when he comes up on any of the crunches there. And Lonzo Ball at 5,200, does exude upside there. I did, so I do. I've always kind of liked the Pelicans for, how they play and the amount of points that get put on the board there. So I think that, those guys are all in play along with the Drew Holiday that we were talking about before.
Why am I? Yeah. Is it who Fernando? So here's and I'm blanking. Fernando. That's
Bruno Fernando.
I had Bruno Caboclo stuck in my head.
Well, that is never a good thing.
No.
If you find Bruno Caboclo, hey, go see a doctor immediately.
Yeah, and then let's with Cristiano Felicio in this too. So the Hawks are going to start Reddish, Herter, Hunter, Collins, and Fernando. Yeah, yikes. Tobias Harris officially a game time decision. Nance officially starting. We know that one. That looks like all of the more recent news that has popped. Let me see if there are in our hopscotching. Did we? Oh, yeah, we did actually. So Hey, where I thought we were going to get to relatively early, but this is what happens when crazy stuff occurs. Phoenix and Sacramento. We now have what was going to be a very popular spot sort of stepping back into the crowd with all of these other areas that are emerging here. So with regards to Sacramento, I still have Buddy Hield as one of my favorite plays on the night, along with Julius Randle. I think I will also be going very heavily on Rashawn Holmes. I am not a fan of Corey Joseph because Corey Joseph is getting about 0.6 fantasy points per minute, which can be rather frustrating. On the Phoenix side of things, nobody really gets me overly excited there. We don't know. I don't think we know about DeAndre Ayton yet.
He's out.
He is out. So we've got Kelly Oubre Jr., who was in mega foul trouble, had a little coaching moment where he sat most of the first half. That was two fouls in the first minute and change.
Yeah, 2 fouls, 1 minute.
Third foul shortly after coming back.
And then 2 offensive fouls right as he came back. He picked up his 3rd offensive. He picked up his 4th offensive on there. Just a real crappy night. And it's too bad because those who were sharp enough to play Oubre last night got him at really reasonable ownership for the slate that it was. So that gives you some insight into tonight. It was Booker and Rubio getting a lot of the ownership last night, along to some extent with Aaron Baines on there. Sarge, didn't know whether he was going to play. Had a huge first half, not so much the second half as seems to have been the case with Dario in terms of the minutes. But Oubre, EMAC, he's not popping on projections or anything like that. He's still, he's 6,200 on there. You're going to get him a little lesser owned if you're a believer in this game, like you're talking about, and certainly if you're playing some of the undercards on there. Oubre is very interesting based on what we saw last with the Suns.
Yeah, and I just got a premium question kind of asking, is Corey Joseph going to start? Yeah, most likely he will. We've seen what's going to happen with De'Aaron Fox out, along with Bagley out, and that's where I'm tepidly excited with excited's not the right word, but I'm still on Buddy Hield. So here's what I wrote up about Hield. So with both De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley out of action tonight between November 12th and the 15th, Fox missed 16 games and Bagley missed 13 games. In that stretch, Hield was averaging 38.5 minutes per game and literally just over 1 fantasy point per game on 29% usage. So here's what we have to like. It's a point per minute. Those guys on and off don't really impact his usage. They impact his shot or his field goal attempts. And they kind of mucked with the rotation a little bit there, and he was getting less minutes. So I like him as a solid core play. I think 40 fantasy points is very, very likely outcome. So I want him in my quote cash main lineups. He'll be in there. Randall will be in there. He'll be in my Fred Van Elite fan club lineup. But the other thing I really like, his upside is in the fact that he's taking 10.5 3-pointers a game. That's the second most in the league. He's making them at 35.3%. If just a couple of those, say he goes, 6 of 12 or 7 of 12, which isn't unheard of for a 3-point shooter taking that kind of volume, that gets him to 50 fantasy points. So it's a possibility, not a probability, but that's where his upside exists.
Still a lot of minutes and a lot of usage for a guy that is $6,200 in a potentially offensive game, and he's got the squeaky wheel narrative going for him.
Is that as squeaky as Dwayne Dedman though?
I don't think so, but having Bagley out certainly uncomplicates things with Rashawn Holmes, as we saw as soon as Bagley left the game. Holmes' ceiling took off in that one. Corey Joseph, at 3,900, going to play minutes. He just not going to do much with those minutes. So yeah, he'll start, which is great if for Buddy Hield. It's great for Holmes, because Corey Joseph's not going to be competing for buckets with these guys, and that's what you'd like to see for Buddy Hield. So good call, EMAC. I'm going to go ahead and say that's going to be a winner tonight for you, man. Nice job.
All right. Well, thank you. We've got a couple other items of news trickling in. We've got Evan Turner available to play. It's not really going to move the needle for me. Alex Len available to play. So now we have some bodies back here, but Jabari Parker ruled out.
Parker out. You're going to see Bruno and Len splitting the minutes there at center, with Collins rotating a little bit in for there. now, taking some of the 5 minutes, which will, gives him a little bit more ceiling. Hunter's, occasionally sliding into the 4 will get him a little bit more on there. So, Parker being out, it's a high usage guy coming off the bench in those mixed rotations when he's in the game. So definitely helps front court when doing that. I mean, I know there's a lot of people like, hey, can I play Alex Lund now? Always a risk, man. But that dude does have some of the highest ceiling, highest spike type performances, and it will help him coming off the bench without Jabari Parker there to soak some rebounds, soak some scoring.
All right. Lamar Mustang says he submitted a League of Legends article to Osmo. Hey, I don't believe we have any LOL content. So, the good call.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, man, right there.
That's, you get your foot in the door, and then when we need you, when people are not around, we call who we know, we call who we trust. In Jay Walker, I trust. So you get a nice little reunion moment here of me and Jay, who've done countless shows together over the years. Let's see. And Jay and I get to hang out in person when he's up in my neck of the woods doing a little business travel. So that's always fun as well. All right. We're down to 13 minutes left, so we need to start negotiating our lineups, making sure our final moves are in place. If you haven't realized, we are sponsored by FantasyDraft, home of the rake-free daily fantasy sports. They have the $100,000 Hooters main event tomorrow. Rake free. How do you do that, EMAC? Well, this is how it works. You say you get a subscription that allows you to play a certain amount of money, and then it's rake free. So my subscription, $1,000 every 30 days, that's $599. You, if you use the promo code OSMO, can get $1,000 in usage over the first week with the promo code OSMO if you have not yet signed up. And everybody gets $100 every 30 days. And this is a rolling 30 days. So it's not based on each month. It's just each 30 days whenever you've started your subscription or you've started playing. And there's a little counter in there, tells you how much is left, tells you how much you are saving as compared to the other sites, etc. So definitely a worthwhile spot. But you do want to get in there for the game tomorrow, because you have the late night hammer, the San Francisco 49ers at Seattle, which is not available on most of the sites. So that's a little bit of a differentiator. Let's see. They're asking for some top 5 plays here, Jay. I'm gonna put. I said 3 of my point per dollar guys. For me. It's Peyton, Hield, and Holmes. What do you like at the spending side of things here?
Oh, on the spending side.
Is it Doncic?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking to see what I'm getting here. I mean, you've got Harden, I'm getting James and Westbrook on the real high end. If you're dropping down into that mid tier, I've got some Vucevic here. We talked about him earlier, sneaking him in on the 7,800 type side on DK, just seeing who else popped.
Larry Nance is, I'm sure, coming up.
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of value, Larry Nance is the top guy, no question. I've got the most of Larry Nance in there as well. I mean, you have to like if Wiggins is out, which I think that's what we were saying, that he's doubtful now. He's gone to doubtful. You got to like Jeff Teague sneaking in there, 5,300 EMAC against Cleveland on that. It's going to be good. If you're playing Larry Nance and you're thinking he's going to have a big game and that game is staying close, and you're going to want Jeff Teague kind of tied to that as well. Yeah, a lot of the Minnesota guys popping. Ilyasova, from a value point is also popping in here, along with Gorgie Dieng. So a lot of Minnesota in terms of the value, in terms of salary. It looks like I'm getting Harden, James, Westbrook, although Westbrook is now on the same team with Harden, clearly. And even some guys in the projections are liking some of the Clippers in there, Paul George and Kawhi. And they talk about guys that you're just not.
We didn't even mention them at all.
You're talking about guys you're going to see. This is a huge slate to get guys like that, and they're popping with projections. It's important to give yourself a sanity check on those things. And you're like, dang, do I really want to play those guys? So as long as you're not playing those two together in a matchup like that, then you've got ceiling, and you're getting them probably at lower ownership than you're typically going to do.
All right.
There's great opportunity there for the daring on there, because you're going to get guys you don't normally get that have the highest of ceilings. They're just not in the perfect spots. And there's so many guys in perfect spots tonight that you can sneak a guy like we were talking about with Vucevic against Milwaukee in there. You can sneak one of those guys in if you are playing multiple entries, not single entry, but multiple entries, and get him in there for and sneak him in, and you get relatively the same value percentage plus upside, but they're just people just can't cover all of them, so you get them in there.
Yeah, this is Drummond, another guy we didn't talk a lot about.
I know, and I have Drummond too. Yep, I've got 25% Drummond there.
Yeah, I think at this point we really don't need any of the guards from San Antonio. I think that's getting a little bit cute. We don't need some of those discounted Pistons guys. I think that's kind of getting cute. With things, Spencer Dinwiddie, I think, is still solid. LaMarcus Aldridge still solid. I talked about Fred VanVleet on DraftKings only as being a solid play. But yeah, we're kind of coming down the stretch here, and this has been one heck of a ride. We got 9 minutes left. I think we've got the bulk of the news that we're gonna find out. LeBron James still the big waiting point. We talked a little bit there about how you can consider a 2v2. I mean, if you leave enough, you can go to Anthony Davis if you do that appropriately. But with Kuzma as a cheap guy, then you could look for expensive guys elsewhere. You could facilitate it so you're getting perhaps a Damian Lillard, Hassan Whiteside in that same game. There's a variety of ways you can go with some of those late evening options. So that's another interesting one there. Let's see what knows. Oh, Amari Spellman out. Darius Garland playing.
Yep.
But wow, what a night! This was this whole tomorrow feels like it's going to be like week 4 preseason with the NFL.
Right.
Tonight feels like the last 2 days of NBA, where you're like, who's playing, who's not, who are they trying to give a full week off before the first round games start, who's got milestones in their contract, who's playing for rebounding and scoring titles. This has just been a show and a half. Goodness gracious.
Appreciate you pulling me out of the graveyard to jump right into a 13 gamer with all sorts of news.
Hey, look at that. You hit the ground running. You're like a duck. Calm, cool, and collected up top, going like crazy below the surface. But this is what's fun. When we were trying to find people, I said, no, I can't have anybody green on the show tonight. I need to bring in a veteran.
No. And I just want to stress, guys, it's a huge slate. So if you're getting cute, I mean, you certainly, there's a small percentage chance you're out there on an island by yourself and do it, but you can get on an island with popular play with guys that are normally popular on slates like this. So don't overthink it. And because the score tonight to win is going to be, I feel like it's going to be immense to hit the number out there, because there's going to be value. There's a lot of good value out there tonight. So the scores are going to be high. So set your thresholds to get to a high score, not just good. Good's not going to get it tonight. You need great out there tonight.
Yeah. Absolutely here. All right, I'm trying to upload my file here and I'm getting an error. So can you look and see? I'm assuming are you locked and loaded?
I am. I was updating Yahoo, but definitely Tobias Harris. I don't know if we mentioned that. Tobias is in. Tobias is in over there for Philly. I think that and so you're playing Tobias. In this, you got Horford in there as well. They're both, reasonably priced. It's not a very sexy game, Philly, Miami. So again, this is another spot where you could take a top guy like Butler for Miami, something like that, and you feel like or bam, getting in there. Both those guys, and Butler and Adebayo are going to play a ton of minutes here with Harrison. It makes it. It definitely makes sure that's a competitive game over there. So super interesting to take a look at some of the top ends over there. Again, if you're playing 150, it behooves you to make sure that you've got access to a couple of these guys like Butler and Bam can certainly, spike and in a place where people aren't playing them all that much.
Yeah, this has just turned into a wild roller coaster of a show here in slate. So these are the times where Eddie talks a lot about practice your fire drills, understand what's going to happen when different things are going on, etc. Here, be ready to understand how you can pivot away from stuff. Make sure that you are able to how the late swaptimizer works. You have outs for yourself. You know who's playing at what time, etc. Because these are the absolute scramble times. Like right now, I'm in trouble because I cannot for the life of me get my upload file to work. So I don't even have a good placeholder lineup in. So if you could look for a question in chat, Jay, that would be very helpful to me. Or my night's going to be over at lunch.
Yeah. Gonna be over quick, and you don't want it to be.
No, Jalen Brunson is in. I've got a horrible placeholder lineup right now. That's another thing. Don't have bad placeholder lineup.
Yeah,
you never know what's going to happen before lock. Wear clean underwear. You may end up in the hospital.
Most folks are wisely looking to themselves for answers here. And unfortunately, we've gotten a lot of news early, so we're not having to pivot real quick. If you're in the Awesome Premium chat, feel free to tag and ask a question in there. Certainly a lot of, you got FanDuel, certainly with going on out there. I know we talked a lot about the DK. If you got any kind of site specific questions, feel free to bring those out. It's definitely hectic out there. I think FanDuel too is interesting because you can take a look at who's going to be popular at point guards, especially center, and really pick a really sharp play. It's going to have ceiling for you that won't be a zone just because you can't roster 2 centers on FanDuel. You can't roster 3 out there. For FanDuel, you're looking, Gorgie Jang, obviously going to pop as a high value play. We talked about Larry Nance already. So here's an interesting one. If you feel like Gary Payton is going to be a really popular play at shooting guard on FanDuel and you want to pivot, then you have some options to be able to do that. Emacs pick of the day, Buddy Hield, which I'm going to hang him with, even if he doesn't say he's the pick of the day. I think it's a smart call on Hield. You've got him at a real reasonable price there. And think about what you're going, what you might want to do kind of in terms of strategy around that. Like if you feel like you're looking at ownership and you think it's going to be high ownership tonight, you see where the value is and you want to pivot, a 13-game slate's a great place to be able to do that because you're going to be able to take advantage of some of that and maybe get to that highest of high scores tonight. All right.
How'd you
go?
They're just 2 early games, and I don't like either one of them. Am I correct on that? I am correct. So here's what I am doing. I am stopping my crunch. I am going to
smart move here.
Shit. How am I gonna do this? Go here. Going to just pick late slate. Going to say make one lineup. To export it. God, I'm not gonna make it.
Yep. I couldn't get Yahoo done either, so that's all right. Of them is that. Good luck to everybody tonight. I mean, this is what a stinking night. I can't believe it's already up to 7 o'clock.
I made it. Okay, so chat, what I was doing here, I realized I wasn't gonna get it. It wasn't gonna happen. I immediately knew that in the back of my mind, I'd already talked about there being 5 8 o'clock games and 1 8:30 game. My next question was, am I going to get killed? Is the Cleveland game where I'm not going to get Nance, or is the Washington game happening early? They're not, even though the Wizards are at home. So I've punted on Toronto and Boston. Yell at me because I'm not going to have Fred VanVleet in my Fred Van Elite fan club. I'm sorry. I will take the L on that one, but I'm not going to risk my entire bankroll tonight or my money in play to do that. Now, the other game I'm missing out on is Indiana and New Orleans. So we have Aaron Holiday. And would you like to pull up the file, or shall I? We can do a little A little daddy likes with the originator of the ownership.
But I always, as always, Emac, I like to give.
Okay.
And
Okay. I will.
there.
I will be here now. The other glorious thing, I'm just checking. There is no 7:30 game, so I got time now. I've seen a couple people ping me in chat, and they've said, "Hey, I watched you do this on another show. I just had to do the same thing tonight." This is a viable out. So instead of me being angry and mad and I wish I would have had more, or I could have done this differently, etc. I bought myself some time. So that just it is what it is there.
All right, I'm going to big contest. We'll do the 20 max $4 classic here.
Yeah, I'll forfeit my dollar in the Fred Van Elite contest. I'll play.
We are stepping in to the secret DK vaults to acquire tonight's lineup. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Don't look like they have them ready just yet.
It takes only a moment, but that's okay. Surprise for those of you that aren't aware, Draft or Play Draft, the Draft app is going away as of the 30th. It is being
shame. What a stellar app that was.
It was a lot of fun. Their best ball contests were outstanding. Now Yahoo does have best ball. There's a couple other sites that do have them, but there's a void there. FanDuel has said they're not losing that technology. I'll just call it right now. Yes, they are. We won't see it anymore. The main reason they don't want it is they can't rake you multiple times a week, if not a day. So that's going away. The technology to have in-game drafts has been around literally since the beginning of DFS, and no one else has done it. So even though there's a market for it, and it was proven because they paid millions of dollars, by the way, for draft, they are very unlikely to utilize this. This is just the way it is. These sites have turned their eyes towards sports betting. There will still be a DFS niche, but it's disappointing to see these sorts of things happen. I get it, because they're thinking, we can churn that money more. The problem is, and I'll just do the easy analysis for them. One, those people that are moving their money over there are already playing on FanDuel. Two, they're not going to now put that money in play in addition to their other money in play. It's highly, highly unlikely that that's going to happen. But take advantage of that 10% transfer bonus that they're going to give.
Now I wonder, in terms of IP, just industry speak here, I just wonder if it's a lockout to where nobody else can offer that, because what it does, if FanDuel does crush it, it does open the door for the next play draft to be able to come into play. And that would certainly nice. Certainly, we had a lot of fun playing on a lot of their events over the years, and I too. I hate seeing good tech go, especially in DFS, where you could strangle some of the tech that's out there, and you wonder, how slow, especially company like FanDuel has been to change and anything like that, to acquire that kind of tech and then blow it, just flush it is sad and disheartening for all of us. And they'll enjoy the game and love to play in different ways. All right, Emac.
And disheartening is the good word. It's just that a good product is now going to collect dust somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when we as a DFS community, and everybody in the chat and anybody who's been playing this a while knows, we've sifted through some real garbage sites and garbage tech to get that. So when somebody does break through, and really the Play Draft definitely had broken through, and now they're gone, it hurts, because you suffer through so much crap to get to something that's good, and you don't want the good to go away. But that's business. That's for sure. We just need more, and hopefully the next Play Draft can step up. Do you want to do this, Emac?
Absolutely. I will.
Right, we had 2 games. We had 2 games as a part of the 7 mix. Indianapolis at New Orleans, and we had Toronto at Boston. So those are your 2 games at 7:00. I have the super secret list in front of me for ownership, and I am in the way of knowing, Emac, that one person was more than 10% owned on the slate. Who would that be?
Is it a holiday?
It's holiday. Celebrate. Right, exactly. Which one? Which one?
I will say it's Aaron Holiday.
Okay. Now, for that's it. You get the points. For bonus points, what is his percentage?
13.2.
Okay, too high.
Oh
Too
boy.
It's 10. It's all right. 10.99. It's 11% for Aaron Holiday. Now for a double bonus, what percentage was Justin Holiday?
Oh, 1/10 of his brother. So 1.1%.
One per would be one, right? Exactly. 0.81. That's good. We'll give you half credit for that. That's good. And all right. So who would be next? Like, can you name the top 5 on the ownership here? Who would be in the top 5? We have Aaron Holiday at number 1. Everybody else is below 10%.
I think Fred VanVleet is not going to get there because I didn't play him.
Right. Exactly. VanVleet is 7th, 3.85%.
I am going to say Jeremy Lamb was cheap, so Jeremy Lamb should be in there.
Jeremy Lamb, number 3. If we play in the Family Feud, I'd turn around, show me
Let's
Jeremy
go.
Lamb, which I've said many times when I've owned him. Show me Jeremy Lamb. 8.35%. He is 3rd place. So Aaron Holiday at 1, Lamb at 3.
I'm going with Brandon Ingram.
Incorrect.
Okay.
Strike 2 if we were in the old Price is Right format. 3.89% for BI tonight. So again, I just want to point out real quick that this is exactly what I'm talking about. BI has 50, 60 point fantasy point upside, especially in this matchup, and he's 4% owned. You're going to see some really strong ownership numbers on some guys that are typically mid double digits, 15, 20, 25% on regular slates. All right. BI is 6. So you still have 2 of 5 on there. Now you said VanVleet was not on the list, so I can't count that as a strike. So only 1 strike against you. If we were drawing into the bag and drawing out the X's, you'd only have 1.
I am going to say that, and I'm running out of reasonable guesses here. I am going to go with Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum is correct. We show him on the board. He's number 4 on the list. Now, there's a significant drop-off from Lamb to Tatum. 8.35 for Lamb, 4.47 to Tatum. It blows my mind. That's great.
Drew Holiday is my last.
You can take a holiday, take some time to celebrate. You got that right. Number 5, 4.42%. That leaves you with 1 player left in the top 5 EMAC with 1 strike. You're doing great, by the way. Only 1 strike. You got to get the last one. That's always the toughest one to get.
Kyle Lowry.
Yeah. Incorrect. 1.39% tonight.
Ooh.
For Kyle Lowry tonight. Kyle Lowry.
Cheap.
Lowry.
I know Kemba was
on the slate.
You know what? OG Anunoby will be my last guess. He's 4,900 on DK. It was between him or Kemba at 7,400. I'm going to go with those.
All right, neither one were correct. Okay. If that makes you happy.
That makes me feel
number better. 1 is the guy that's been scoring very well for the C's. In there it is Jalen Brown, 9.84% tonight. Jalen Brown, almost right there with Aaron Holiday as top. And you did well. That was good. 4 out of 5. That was tough. I mean, having to pick Celtics and Pacers, that's never easy. Right. Actually, it's interesting. Chris Boucher, a higher owned than Scooby Dooby Anunoby tonight. So certainly people definitely betting on that. Yeah,
it's that Christmas hangover effect, guys. He really is only the backup to Ibaka.
That's what I'm saying.
Adam pointed that out again.
Slate. Yeah, I mean, it's getting cute on a really big slate. Yeah. So, that is interesting. So Holiday, Brown, Lamb, Tatum, Holiday, Drew Holiday, Ingram, VanVleet, Favors, Gordo in the 9 hole, and then Lonzo Ball wrapping up your top 10 in there. It's going to be a fun night in DFS tonight. A lot of people are going to be very happy when they get their low-owned person to pop tonight. It's going to be fun for sure.
That is going to be a good one. I see I missed somebody's super chat. It was a $2 one. If that was you, hit me up on Twitter. If you're a member on Slack, hit me up. I'll make it right to you. Sorry I didn't get that one in there. But we're going to get on out of here. Thank you again to Jay Walker jumping in for Fast Eddie. I'm sure Eddie will approve. You and Eddie have done a ton of shows together too. So lest everybody forgets. But yeah, you came right in like this was a bike, and you were riding it, and you're about to do some Evil Knievel stunt. Nobody knows who Evil Knievel is except me and you. So
you gotta have these, baby.
Exactly.
You gotta have those.
Exactly. But much appreciated. Tomorrow we're kicking her off, week 17 for the NFL. We've got shows in the can tonight. They did week 17 DFS strategy show. That was Salvi Vetri, I believe, and Chris Rendon. You also have On the Contrary. That's also on the YouTube feed here. So you can definitely check that out as you're building lineups tonight. We should be kicking off, I think it's 9:45 tomorrow, and we're going to take you up to lock. A lot of moving parts here on week 17. So thank you, everybody, for coming in here. Truly appreciate it. You could follow Jay at JWalker DFS. See, that's all you need to see. He had DFS on his Twitter handle.
Jason Walker DFS.
I should have just put that up in the beginning. Well, we didn't have it in the beginning, but that would have been your bond. Forget the live finals. Forget the being in Atlanta,
Right.
Atlanta Hawks beat writer, and all that stuff.
Where can you find me on Twitter?
Exactly. You get me at EMACDFS, and of course it is Osimo_COM. Put some comments in the YouTube chat if you want to see Mr. Walker appear again with us. But with that, gamers, good luck.
Good luck, everybody.